Hi there, and welcome to the podcast, Drive Group podcast of how to do a podcast for beginners. This is a great way to generate business or generate interest in your business. It's a great way to be, get that know, like, and trust that is so critical to generating new business. People want to work with people that they know, like, and trust, and having a podcast is a great way to do that. To reach people that are looking for your services and to sort of have a relationship with them, through their podcasting software and generate business, generate phone calls through that. So let's jump in and see what the steps are. Obviously, I'm doing this as a podcast because I felt like it was probably the easiest way to do it. So let's jump right in. So how to do a podcast for beginners. So the first thing is get a good microphone. So let's go over and see. This is the one that I'm using right now. It's a Yeti Blue Yeti USB microphone. It's about $100, $125. It's a really solid microphone, and there are others I think that are like it. This is the one that was recommended to me when I first started out, and the price was right, and so I went and got it. I have a little stanchion for mine, kind of a little stand that puts it next to my desk. You can get one of those if you want to. It's a good way to kind of keep it off your desk. I didn't include that in the things in the list of items because it's really not necessary. But if you're going to be doing it a lot and you have a microphone set up like I do all the time, it's pretty handy to have a little stand for it, or sort of a swing arm thing, so you can kind of get it out of the way when you don't need it. So get lights. So I've got light here and I've got a light here that light me up. You can probably see them in the reflection behind me back here. In the painting. It's probably not a great idea to have a painting behind you, but I really like that thing, and so I keep it. But let's look at the lights. They're just simple ring lights. That's the camera. And there's the ring lights. Those are, I think I may have skipped, get lights. So, yep. So, get a decent couple of decent lights. I think I don't think this is two. I think I bought two of the same thing, so that you're kind of lit from both directions, instead of having it, if you're off and you're sort of, it's going to be kind of super dramatic. If you're going for that kind of thing, some kind of spooky, some kind of a spooky atmosphere, I think it's fine to have one light, but typically you want two so it lights you up pretty evenly. So let's see the next thing in how to do a podcast for beginners. And that's one of the things that you're going to see me do. I'll go ahead and call that out now. Is down here at some point we're going to get a transcription of this whole thing to put in the YouTube description, and then also in blog and in your blog and your social media, yada yada yada. That's all for search engine optimization, so it makes it easier to find your podcast. I'm going to repeat how to do a podcast for beginners over and over again, because that's the key phrase that we're using. So if you hear me saying that, that's what's going on. So get a good webcam. Let's look back at that. We just kind of popped into it real quick. So there's the webcam that I'm using. It's a Logitech, whatever, $70. So as you can see, for a couple $100, you pretty much have all the equipment that you need. Oh yeah, and the headset. So let's take a look at the headset, which I think is here. And I'm using Audio Technica, and so I think it's all together is about $250. It's and it's a pretty solid setup. I mean, the sound is good, and there's a little bit of subscription stuff that goes along with this too that I'm going to run through, and we'll get on that as well. So come up with a topic that's relative to your clients, and so in our case, we're doing HVAC or service industry clients. They want to get more customers for their business. They want to get the right kind of customers for their business. Though a great way to do that is to Google, what you think that they're looking for. And I've got Google back here somewhere. Let me have that little thing here. Yeah. So for this thing today, I Googled how to make a podcast. And if you scroll down a little bit, you're going to see people also ask. This is Google telling you these are the most popular keywords for your search term, right? So yes, people search for what you typed in, but they are more likely searching for these things. And you just look through these to find one that is appropriate to what you want to talk about. And how to do a podcast for beginners is what I wanted to talk about. So I got that, and I went and put it in my Word doc. I should say also, this is a really simple way to kind of have a presentation up and going, is just have a Word doc open and just refer back to it periodically while you're doing your your podcast. In this case, because you're doing this is both, I should say the reason I'm doing video here is because I'm also going to push this to YouTube so that I can then put that on my website. YouTube is the second highest search engine, or second most popular search engine on the internet. And so you're going to want to put it there in your channel, put your description in there, then post it to your social media, put it on your blog, and then the entire thing, that the transcript that we're going to get from it, we're going to put that in the blog as well. So we're going to get to all that good stuff. So once you've come up with a topic that's relevant, then identify the best key phrase with Google. We've done that. And then create a Word doc with the talking points. So that's what we just talked about there. And then get a screenpal.com subscription. So let's take a look at that. So here's ScreenPal. So ScreenPal is what I'm using right now to have my little talking head over in the corner along with my screen visible. This is super handy for the YouTube side of it. For it to be just a podcast, it's important when you're doing it that you don't include anything that is absolutely critical to the listener that is video only. So you want to speak to anything that's being shown on video only, because there's a good chance they're listening while they're working out or in their vehicle or something like that. And so you'll lose interest pretty quick if it becomes obvious that a huge component of the information that you're trying to get across to them is in the form of video that they can't see. It's great for YouTube. It's really the whole point of kind of having this portion of the podcast is so that you can post it to YouTube. You can also just use some kind of like a free video editor to drop an image across the front of this. I think that possibly the Podbean will kind of allow you to do that. I'm not sure. Something to kind of take a look at, but we'll get back to that. We're going to get to that in a second. So then get a rev.com subscription is the next thing. So ScreenPal is probably the first thing subscription you need to get for how to do a podcast for beginners, which again is me repeating the key phrase that we're trying to optimize for. Then you're going to want to get a transcript. Google is really good about reading transcripts, but just in case, go out and get a rev.com. You can do audio and video transcriptions. The ones I don't use the human, I use the AI, and it's 25 cents per minute. So it's pretty reasonable, for you to do like this. If this thing is, it's 10 minutes, then we're talking about a couple of bucks. So it's totally reasonable to do, and it gets you a really, really complete transcript of the video. You can see this is the one that I did for our HVAC SEO PPC marketing roadmap, and it's like 64,000. It's an hour-long podcast, and it's like 64,000 characters long. So, which is really awesome. You get a free, massive blog post to your website that's going to be search engine optimized. You can have generally, like I'm seeing here, here's a little mistake, HBAC instead of HVAC. It's going to have stuff like that in it. I don't think it's absolutely critical. Most of this is just going to be in there for search engines. I don't think it's super critical that you go through and edit this to make sure that it reads right. If you're really fussy about that kind of thing, you definitely can, but it's going to add a bunch of time. And I don't think it's really not necessary. You're really just trying to get your keywords in there. So that's what this thing does. And it's really good. It's really good at doing it. And it does it pretty much immediately. I think when I submit to request a transcript, I get the transcript back within certainly the same day. It's usually within, I think, a half hour or something like that. So let's go back and take a look. So then get a Podbean subscription. So Podbean is this guy. And let's look at our episodes. And so basically this allows you to put podcast apps. So you can see that we're on Apple, Google, Podbean, Spotify, Amazon, TuneIn, plus Alexa, iHeartRadio, and we did not do Player FM, Listen Notes, these guys down here. You could, I could probably go in and pretty easily set those up. I don't know if those were even available when I first submitted my Podbean account or created my Podbean account. This takes a little while. Just plan on spending an afternoon kind of working through the process of getting logged into all the different places that you need to go. for Google, for Apple, Spotify, and Amazon. They're particularly Google and Apple are pretty fussy. It's been a while since I did this, but I remember that it took several steps and verifications and things like that via email and my iPhone or my Apple account in order to get these things live. So go in, put on your new headphones, put on some music, and just start kind of slogging through it. And it's a pain, but it's worth it because when you get done, here's my episode list. I just did this one on the 28th, so last week, and it's already got 28 downloads, which is awesome. This one's got 153. It's my new most popular one. Regularly creating content for customers and search engines love. This was another one that really kind of went off quickly. It's the most popular one. It's also the most clickbaity title. But this one I definitely used. How do I get more customers from HVAC business? That it was one of the suggestions from Google, and I repeat that over and over again, just like I repeat how to do a podcast for beginners in this podcast. So once you've got all of that stuff kind of up and running, you fire up your ScreenPal. It was called, if I say Screencast-O-Matic, that's what it used to be called. They just renamed it ScreenPal, so I still kind of think of it as Screencast-O-Matic. So fire up ScreenPal, get your lights on, get your mic going, make sure everything's kind of good. You can run through a couple of things, like just do some sound tests early on to make sure that you're happy with the way that it sounds, and you might want to move the mic, adjust it. There's some particular settings on the mic. You're going to have to read the documentation. This mic, I believe, can be set up for me as a single person. It can be set up with two people across the table from each other that are having like an interview type of podcast. And I think that it can be set up sort of omnidirectional, so it'll just pick up all the sounds in the room. I do not want that. So I set it up so it really just picks up my voice, and that's the best setting. I have not done one where I have an interview yet using both sides on this mic. I have done interview podcasts, particularly for testimonials that are via Zoom. So that's it. I've not used the mic for that, but I'm certainly going to hopefully. Well, I shouldn't say certainly. I'm hopefully going to try to do an interview type with this mic at some point in the future. So really, I think the key to doing the podcast at that point is you're just, think of, like, go through these things like I just did, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It can be difficult, you can kind of stall on it. I'm better at it now than I used to be. I think my first couple of podcasts, it took me all day to just get through an episode. And now I've gotten better where I'm kind of talking, in real time, and I don't really have to edit it that much. I still say a lot of ums and ers and things that I shouldn't say. But you can actually take those out. I think, I believe Rev will maybe do that for you. I can't remember, but just go through it. Just be genuine, be honest, try to solve the problem, whatever it is that they're searching for, that they're trying to solve. And you're gonna get some traction. It's surprising. I also put calls to action in mine that are, hey, we do this for our customers all the time. Like, a lot of our stuff is search engine optimization related, and so we'll say, look, we'll tell you how to do this, but the chances are you're going to have better results if you hire a professional. We're going to pay for ourselves in the amount of business that you get. And so, hire us, but give us a call. Let us talk through, what we can do for you and how we're going to pay for our services and make you more money, and that, I think, is important. If that's the type of podcast that you're trying to do, is to make sure you say, this is what we're trying. This is why we're doing this. This is what our business is. We're experts at this. So whatever that thing is, definitely get the plug in there. As my background involves sort of marketing, I also have, if you have a Mac comes with GarageBand, which is what I use for editing all this stuff. So I have sort of an intro bumper, and actually I don't think I have an outro bumper. I probably should do one though, because it'd probably be valuable. And it plays music on the way in while I talk over what the intro, like what the podcast is, like kind of what the whole theme of the entire podcast is. And then that music kind of fades out, and I come in with the podcast. And I always try to start the podcast in such a way that it works with what that intro is. And it usually starts with a keyword. So I'll say today's episode is how to do a podcast for beginners. So it'll start with, welcome to the HVAC Marketing Roadmap podcast. This is a great way for HVAC and home services based companies to, and it's got some zippy kind of corporate, upbeat music going behind it. And then once that stops, I go right into what the topic of that keyword is, or what the topic of that podcast is. And it's a fairly seamless transition. I think when I first started doing it, I was probably a lot more critical than I should have been about what it sounded like. And so I started really paying attention to the podcasts that I listen to. And I realized that they're not perfect. And I just don't notice. I don't really care. I'm really focused on what they're telling me and what the content is, or whether it's a story or whether it's some kind of, business book that I'm reading or something like that. They're, the books are really good, but the podcasts, they're not always perfect. There's often little sort of mistakes in them, and the audio changes a little bit from here and there, and I don't really notice. And so I've kind of given myself a pass on that for the podcast that I'm doing. So once you're done with that, once you've got your podcast all done, and if you can do it in one shot, you're pretty much good to go. You can sort of stop it in the ScreenPal software, and it will then basically bundle it up, and you can download it to your computer as MP3. You can push it right to your YouTube channel, which you should have a YouTube channel because there's value in having these things on YouTube as well. And here's an example. This is the HVACSEOPPC.com YouTube channel. You can see here that we put a bunch of keywords in the description so that we show for people searching for this. And then I put the first, I don't know how many words of the transcription from rev.com in here to just fill it out to the 5,000 characters. I think that allows you 4,907. So I just stopped at the bottom of a paragraph. People are not really going to read this. This is mostly for search engines to pick up and use as keywords to figure out when people are searching for this kind of thing. So I think that's pretty much it. We'll run back through our little checklist on how to do a podcast for beginners. And it's get a good mic, get lights, get a webcam, get a headset, come up with a topic that's relevant to clients. This is one that can be a little bit repetitive, but it is what it is. This is kind of the world that we live in. We've got to feed the Google algorithm. And so, you'll be doing a lot of podcasts probably on the similar set of topics. It's a good idea to put together maybe a calendar or something like that if you can, like an annual calendar, and just every month just say, okay, this is what I'm doing. And then create the Word doc with talking points that kind of serves as a little presentation for the YouTube. Get your ScreenPal account, get a Rev account, get a Podbean subscription, and then it's not on here, but we'll say create a YouTube channel. No. And upload it. So that's pretty much it. And I hope this is helpful for you for how to do a podcast for beginners. If you're a beginner that's trying to set up a podcast, this is your step-by-step guide. So thanks for listening today.